Hey, thanks for watching this video. This is one class from the 2022 HVACR Symposium in Claremont, Florida. We have the symposium every year, and so to find out more information kind of upcoming, go to hvacrschool.com/symposium. Big thanks to our sponsors for this event, which was IAQ Tools and TrueTech Tools. They're the two title sponsors that made the event possible. In this excellent session, John Ellis talks about selling indoor air quality solutions and, of course, doing it ethically.
Man, what a pleasure to be here. What a great event. And it's kind of mind-boggling, the collective knowledge and experience at an event like this. You can't even put a number to it, but thank everybody for being here. Thank you to Brian for giving me the opportunity. So, hey, out of all those people that raised their hands, let's narrow that down a little bit. So, how many have sold IAQ products? Okay, now let's narrow it down. How many people sell solutions? Awesome, that's what I want to see. So, like Caleb said, my company is Dynamic Air Consulting, and what that is it gives me a chance to go in the field and work with clients and create a solutions-based scope of work that's tailored right for what they're experiencing, what their pain is, or whatever conditions they're going through. But in that, I get to bring contractors in the field with me, and we use that for a coaching experience. And I just got all kinds of toys, and I get to bring those in the field. They get to use them, see how they work, and then at the end of the time, we get to actually create a solution for that client. And of course, it's up to them to price it and bid it, because I don't know the marketplace for everybody's businesses. I'm a coach and field service trainer for the new flat rate. That is a built-for-you menu pricing. And we're not a pricing company. We are a software and process development company. And what we do is we take a look at what you need to be profitable, and we create a menu based on what your pricing is. We don't do any pricing. So, wonderful opportunity. I travel all over the United States, and I work with companies, and I put a uniform on, and I get in the van, and we go run calls. I work with plumbing, electrical, heating and air conditioning. We just added a chimney module for chimney repair and cleaning, and then we'll talk about some new stuff that we got going on towards the end. I have the wonderful opportunity to teach indoor air quality for Dyke and Amanda Goodman. Now, when they approached me, they said, John, we really want to create a curriculum for the industry, and we understand that you might be the right fit. And I said, I would absolutely love to be that guy, but I will not stand in front of a group of people like this and sell products, because that's what everybody else does. So the curriculum was developed for the HVAC industry. It's building science, building forensics, and indoor air quality from a mechanical point of view. And it's been well received, and I'm teaching that all over the United States. My next class will be in Wooddale, Illinois. I think a couple people are going, and we'd love to see you. See me afterwards. I can get your information and send you info on how to sign up. So let's jump in. I think I got here it is. So here's what we want to target today. We are a process-driven industry, and the service industry, all of them across the board, we all have processes. We have a process on how the CSR answers the phone. We have a process on how a service technician handles a service call. We have a process for handling warranties. We've got a process for maintenance. We've got a process for service, for installation. We have a process for commissioning. We are process-driven. So I have come up with, through my experience, a process to address indoor air quality. And so I want you guys to understand, as I talk about this, I've been doing indoor air quality at a very high level for a very long time. My customers come to me with a variety of conditions that you may or may not see in your experience. Cystic fibrosis, COPD, immune deficiencies, oncology, debilitating asthma. I have clients that have come to me with lung transplants. And so this is real indoor air quality. What solutions I come up for my clients, their life depends on it. and their quality of life. And so debilitating asthma all the way down to garden variety, seasonal allergies. So in creating a process, indoor air quality, investigate, analyze, and quote. It's a 3-step process. You have to do all 3. You have to do them in order. Our industry goes right to the quote. For the longest time now, with current events and the pandemic and different things, we are getting bombarded with all kinds of gizmos and gadgets and very tricky marketing. I mean, marketing is hard to navigate in and of itself, but unfortunately, we hear indoor air quality, boom, we go right to a product and right to the quote and totally discount the first 2 steps. So in that, we'll kind of break that down for you. So the investigation process is what we call discovery. So we have to go in and collect a certain set of measurements, if you will. If you don't test, it's just a guess. So we want to be thorough. And so the investigation process or the discovery starts with gathering data. Now that being said, I often start with a questionnaire that I send out. And it's some basic questions, but at least it starts the conversation. And I like to send it to them ahead of time because I want them to fill it out together. So significant other and family members, whatever that may be, so that I have as much data from them as I possibly can so I can move forward and know which direction I need to go. So review the residents' complaints. That's what the questionnaire is for. In dealing with acute patients, I use what's called a Queasy report. It's actually from the medical community, and it'll narrow down and get to like specifics, chemical sensitivities, and different triggers and different things. I don't send that to all clients, but on some of my severe, I do. And then so we want to review the complaints and the existing condition before any action is taken towards improving indoor air quality. You can't fix what you don't know about. Assess the effects of poor indoor air quality on the inhabitants. So whoever's living in the space, whoever occupies that space, they are experiencing something, and we need to be able to assess what effects. What are they feeling? A lot of times they will already have been to an allergist and they'll already know what they're allergic to, but we need to assess that and what kind of effect that is having on the inhabitants. Keep in mind that effects are often delayed and cumulative, depending on each occupant's gender, metabolism, age, and other sensitivity factors. Now, I say sensitivity factors as people are exposed to irritants and allergens and chemicals and different things, they become sensitized. And so that's why we say sensitivity. Once you go to the next level, you are compromised. And so low-level, long-term exposure to different pollutants will move you from one category to the next, so you will become compromised. Low-level, long-term exposure to radon, carbon monoxide, different things. I've got lots of experience where we came out and it's like, oh, well, we didn't know, and a year or 2 of being exposed, and now they are compromised. So I want you to understand that. So measure the air quality conditions in the space. So how do we do that? Well, there's lots of different ways. I use a couple different products. Air Advice is one, Air Answers is the other. And I see on forums, oh man, you can't get it. 30 minutes, testing is ridiculous. Well, I agree to a point, but you gotta start somewhere. So if I can get a 30-minute snapshot and at least know what's in the space preliminarily, and I can at least have a direction to go, and I can start a conversation that will lead to longer testing and more in-depth testing. And so that's the Air Advice. And Air Answers is fantastic. It's a relatively new product that is basically a CIH in a box. Certified Industrial Hygienist. It's measuring more on the organic side, can actually speciate some molds and spores, rodent and arthropod droppings and different things. So you have to start somewhere, but that starts the conversation that leads into further testing. Take into consideration that concentration of indoor pollutants may vary over time. So in my career, I've got to work with a lot of really cool CIHs and virologists and different things. And what we find out is there's events, especially when you talk about VOCs, it's an event or a spike. And so what happens during that event is you'll spike, and then the levels will taper off. And it may happen a couple times during the day. I worked in a lot of schools, and every day at 10:15, the kids came back from being at recess, and the levels spiked, because all the little kids were bringing in with them particulates and different things. And then I was doing one school, and it would spike, and it was when the diesel trains pulled up and were refueling, and the predominant winds were bringing those gases towards the classroom. So we put a time signature to that, and we're able to see that that's what happened. So keep that in mind, that you may be taking some measurements and say, hey, everything is fine. But you know what? You could get a spike or an event, and things change quickly. When we're measuring in the microbial realm of things, so this is the unseen realm of things, we have surrogate contaminants. So a good example, older sheet metal that's starting to decay and rust, you got the galvanized and the nickel, it starts to break down. You get rust particles. Well, those rust particles in and of themselves aren't really a pollutant per se. I mean, it's not good to breathe them, but what happens is they get moist and mold will attach, they'll become aerosolized. When you take a sample and it gets to the lab, they're looking for a specific pollutant which has a size and a shape, but it's actually on the rust, which has a different shape, but can become aerosolized, and then that is a target irritant for an occupant. And so we have to be able to understand that it's not always just night and day on what we're looking at. So identify the source of the pollutants. I can't drive this home enough. Anybody that's had my class knows that I say source control, source control, source control. The pollutant, where's it coming from? Okay, let's get a handle on that. Let's see if we can't control the source. Okay, source control. So once we've gathered our data, and so I go in deep. So we want to, and we'll go into this a little further. So I want to measure what's in the air and look for target irritants based on my interview with the customer. So what's in the air? Then I want to look at the building. So this is where the building science principles come in, and we do a series of tests, blower door infiltration, pressure mapping, moisture mapping. I want to know what's going on in the space. And then we also look at existing mechanical systems, which would include your air distribution system, filtration, and other things. And so those are three of our categories that we really want to pay close attention to. And then what does that mean when it comes to the client? So we've gathered all this data. I always do system performance. So I take static pressure, I convert that into airflow, but as an air balance technician, I had a flow hood in my hands all the time. So airflow, delivered capacity on both heating and air conditioning, total airflow, which would relate to air exchanges per hour within the space. What effects does my HVAC have on my building pressures? And then my filtration rates. And people often say, well, how do you do a filtration rate? Well, you need to have some tools. I use a laser particle scanner, and it gives me 0.03 microns in numbers. And so I measure what's going in and what's coming out. Now I got a filtration rate. Now you can look at your pressure drop and all that other fun stuff that we do, but that's all data we gather. Once we've gathered all that data and we pull it together, it's time to analyze. And so compare the data and the customer information obtained during the discovery process. Determine if the pollutant can be removed from the space. So a lot of times, in the pursuit of energy, we're building homes tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's fine. But we're bringing stuff into the space that's off-gassing. Behavioral is a huge one. You try to look at behavioral. What are people cooking? What are they using for cleaning materials? What do they use in their washer and dryer? Are they using products that they wash their pillow, their bed clothing in, and then bury their head in a pillow? And that could be a problem. So these are all things that we got to keep in mind Well, as we're looking, and so is the pollutant in the space or is it outside the space, and my infiltration is bringing everything in? Air is the medium on which everything travels. Okay, 1 CFM in equals 1 CFM out. We have air movement in every space on this planet. And so we have to be able to identify pathways, what the pollutant is, how it's getting into the house, is it in the house, can we remove it from the space? Those are all things that have to be taken into consideration while we're trying to analyze our data. Determine the best way to reduce the levels of the pollutant. 1, can it be removed? 2, should we look for dilution? If we've got high carbon dioxide and we can't eliminate it from the space because they've got, they're cooking and doing things, and maybe they have a wood-burning stove or something, which I got in my house. But so now we got to look for a dilution. TVOCs could be another one. Is dilution the right answer if we can't remove everything from the space? Now, and only now, are we ready to quote. We've had our interview, we've gathered data, we sat down with the data, we've analyzed it, we've connected the dots between what our data is telling us and what's going on with the customer. Now we're ready to create a solution and a scope of work. Provide customers with options based on everything we discovered during this, uncovered during the discover and the analysis of the data. Explain how each option works. What upkeep is involved, how much will it cost, and provide different solutions. So the last part of that is provide different solutions. It is not unusual to have a multi-tiered solutions-based scope of work. If the space has microbial growth, and it's minor, it hasn't colonized yet, and we're not into a full-blown remediation, but if we have microbial growth or we have dust mites in the space, what is the cause of that? We might have high humidity. So a dehumidification might be part of that solution. We've got high particulate level in the house, and so part of that might be better filtration. We might find that we've got high carbon dioxide or high TVOCs, and so without removing that from the space, ventilation is part of that process. So as you build this scope of work, it's like, well, why do we have high particulate levels in the house? And it's like, oh my goodness, we've got very high infiltration. So all the filtration in the world is a wash if our infiltration is out of control. We need to get a handle on that. So part of that solution, now we're at 4 levels, would be doing some basic air sealing and trying to get that under control, and or can we offset that with positive pressure apparatus in the house? And so you can see it starts to build real fast. And so having them understand that, as you explain, Mr. and Mrs. Homer, your allergist says you're allergic to dust mites and particulates, here's the solution for that. You've got chemical sensitivities or multiple chemical sensitivities. We've got high TVOCs. Here's a solution for that. And then we just build it. We've got humidity problems. Here's a solution for that. So it's real easy to build a multi-tiered solution for your indoor air quality client. Help the customer make their decision based on facts. You have to keep it just a matter of a fact, not on emotions. That's a tough one sometimes, and you'll know why. So I'm going to tell you a little more about that. So it'd be safe to say that we're pretty much HVAC here. So I'm going to narrow this down into selling IAQ approaches from our point of view as an HVAC professional. So it's a different approach. There's a little bit of a paradigm shift here. And so we have to go in and kind of clear our mind and look at it through a different set of lenses. Okay, it's very important to understand when dealing with clients, a lot of times there's a medical condition involved. Okay, I closed my session, if you were here last year, I closed my session with, I have had wonderful opportunity to work with families and children all over the United States, and some in very, very bad condition. Arden was one of them. She was just about a bubble girl. Multiple chemical sensitivities, environmental conditions, full-blown body rashes. She had asthma, really bad asthma. She had food allergies. She was practically a bubble girl. And so you think that the parents are a little emotional about that? Absolutely. So a medical condition could be involved. We have to understand that. If you don't fully know what that is, research it. And then the customer, believe me, they know, and they'll be happy to tell you what they're experiencing and what their condition is. So heightened emotions. So emotions are running high, especially when children are involved. Oh my goodness. So it's said, and hear me in the proper context, that people will give part of their paycheck to be comfortable. But when their children are involved and it's a medical condition or their health and well-being, they'll sell the farm. Now we have to hear it in the proper context. We have to understand that going in, and we're not to prey on that, but just understand emotionally how invested they are in what you have to say in coming up with a solution for their family, their children. Maybe their parents might be there, but these are things that we have to keep into consideration. We have to have some empathy and compassion and understanding, but we have to keep the emotion out of it. Okay, we have to keep the emotion out of it as we're trying to create a solution.
Yeah, when there's a medical concern, a lot of the physicians think you just need more medication. Can you comment on that briefly?
I can. So our industry, the medical community, we have a habit at throwing prescriptions at everything. And so, this is what's going on. We got a medicine for that. We've got pharmaceuticals for that. And hey, we just came up with a brand new pharmaceutical. If you sell X amount of this for us and give them to your patients, it's like free R&D, if you will, research and development. Hey, we'll send you to Hawaii. And so there's a huge incentive for doctors to sell prescriptions. Now, hear me right. Prescriptions and pharmaceuticals can be good in the right, but a lot of times they treat the symptom and not actually what's going on. And so that being said, in my experience, I worked with a gentleman, Gene Sperling. He was a respiratory pharmacist by trade, degree in pharmacology from the University of Oklahoma, and he had a relationship with a lot of doctors. So we worked with UCLA Medical Center, USC Medical Center, the LA Children's Hospital, and several prominent immunologists, oncologists, and allergists in and around LA and Beverly Hills area. Now, because he speaks doctor talk, the HEPA rules didn't apply to him, and I got to sit in on some of those conversations. So we had doctors actually prescribing our services. Now, that sounds like a lot of weight to that. So we weren't able to get HMOs and PPOs to pay for our services, but at the end of the day, when there's a prescription attached to it or a hard recommendation, we were able to get a very friendly tax write-off for the work that we did. So yes, doctors tend to throw pharmaceuticals at a lot of stuff, and I want us to be able to understand that by changing indoor environments, we can take the pressure off of what they're experiencing. And a lot of times, and these are case studies, clients I worked with, they go off medications. Their quality of life, lung function and capacity, all this stuff starts coming back. And so cystic fibrosis is a death sentence. They are going to die from cystic fibrosis. Now, they've made good progress. COPD, there's no cure. They will die from COPD. So our goal is to give them the best that they can have, and also quality of life, and in hopes get them off some of their medications. We had a lady in, Brandon, we talked about Helen in my class, and so she had COPD. She was about 56% lung capacity. Her doctor prescribed our services. We did a total fix on her house. And then with diet, exercise, and being in a clean environment. See, it's not just indoor air quality. We are changing indoor environments, completely changing the environment. So she went off of half her medication, and the doctors were quite astounded because she went from 56% lung capacity up over 60%. It actually improved. They were astounded. And that was a great case study for us because they started referring more and more clients with like conditions for us. So it's important to understand what's going on the medical realm of things. I'm not saying y'all need to be doctors, but we need to understand. Also keep in mind that you're probably not the first contractor. So when these people have a child or even themselves and they're looking for solutions, they want a solution, and they get a line of contractors down the street and they all come in and they all say the same thing. We can install insert name of product here, and you're going to be better because the sticker on the box said so. And so they're probably pretty aggravated and fed up with the whole thing because every contractor is coming in and saying the same thing over and over. They're throwing products at people and not offering solutions. And that's where our industry's at right now, and it's unfortunate, but I'm trying to change minds one room at a time. So indoor air quality issues cannot be solved with a cookie-cutter approach. I coined this phrase from the medical community, and it's prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Hear that. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Our industry goes right to the prescription by throwing products at people and hoping for the best. Who's got kids? You got kids? Stand up. How many kids you got? Three. How old are they? 10, 6, and 2. My goodness gracious. You love them? Do anything for them? How would you feel if your kids weren't feeling well? Now, we're not talking about COVID. We're talking about, they've got a cold and they're miserable and a fever, and they're, and your heart is bleeding for them, and they feel miserable and you feel miserable because they're miserable, and it's time to load them up and take them to a doctor. So you go to the doctor and you walk in, and the receptionist says, "Hey, come on in and sit down." And you do. You're all signed up. And then all of a sudden, the door opens and says, "Oh, hey," and tosses you a bottle of prescription and says, "Try this, call me in 2 months." How would you feel about that? Yeah. Might even be pissed off, wouldn't you? Yeah. That's what we do in our industry. What size are you? Large? Thank you for participating. Here's a shirt. Making hair great again. Hashtag IAQ matters. Yeah. So do you understand the connection there? If we went to our doctors, and then they're really good at this, but they don't even see us, and they just toss you a bottle of medication and say, "Hey, give this a try. Call me in 2 months." But yet our clients call this, say, "Hey, I've got an indoor air quality." You're like, "Hey, install this product and call me in 2 months. Let me know how it's doing." There's no difference. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. We're guilty of malpractice every day in our businesses. Hopefully it's not you guys, it's the other guy. But I'm just saying, that's where our industry's at. So the bulk of the industry also, as part of their business model, is focused on selling new equipment, and indoor air quality is an add-on, a bolt-on accessory. It's like, here's your new equipment. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of indoor air quality in there to make you feel better. That's where our industry's at. I'm telling you, there's a paradigm shift. We need to go into our indoor air quality, and we need to be focused on indoor air quality and sprinkle it with a little bit of equipment. The equipment is our add-on. When I talked earlier, we got a multi-tier, right? Solutions-based approach, scope of work for our clients. Did I mention equipment in any of that list? No, the equipment comes later, and it will come. So we have to focus on indoor air quality. So if that's your focus going in, your customer will feel like you care about them. Well, you should care about them, and they're going to know that. They just want to be heard. They want to be heard. They are living in a nightmare, in a dream. They're living in hell. When I worked with Arden, they searched far and wide. They were going all over the United States looking for answers for their child. So we did a scope of work for her, and it really helped. Her medical conditions were so acute that anything I did isn't going to be, a cure, but we can give her better quality of life and help promote healing and getting through whatever they're experiencing. And so, more than caring for the American dollar. So I want to say something, and hear me very, very clear. So there's some spiritual principles here. We don't worship money, right? We don't worship money, but money is the fuel that fuels the engine that is our company. Okay? We are in business to be profitable. You keep your employees working. You keep their families fed. They can buy a house and do things. It gives you the ability to have trucks and tools and better serve your company. So we don't worship money, but money is the fuel that fuels the engine that is our company. If you are profitable, well, guess what? When there's a veteran that came back and needs help, and you're profitable, guess what? We're going to give you a system. Or there's the family who's fallen on bad times, and you have the ability, because you're profitable in your business, to go ahead and help them. Or you can donate to charities, and you can do different things. So money is not to be worshipped, but it is the fuel. So I want to be perfectly clear on that, and we all need to be profitable in our businesses. And this will totally separate you from the rest. If you're not standing out, you're blending in. So you need to stand out. Evaluate the needs of the customer. Ask questions. Listen to the customer's issue, whatever they're feeling, medical, whatever. And then you can assess the equipment. So I travel all over the United States, and I work with a lot of companies, and I work with clients. And I was just in Port Huron, Michigan, and it was cold. I came here, and I was like, woo! But the client had been working in the oil refineries. He was compromised. He was well past sensitized. He was compromised. Can't breathe in his own house. He can go take a walk and immediately feels better. And so when we're having our sit-down conversation, all eyes were on him, and it was all about him, all about him, all about him, and what's he experiencing, and what did the doctor say? What happens at what time of the day? And it was all about him. And in the den, we hear this little voice, and it was his wife, and she says, "Does anybody care how I feel?" Ooh, absolutely, ma'am. Come on in. Ask questions, listen to the customers. Nobody talked to her. And she came in and she said, I always thought my husband was a little cuckoo, right? Because he's experienced, but I realized that there's actually something going on. And she said, I'm having a little bit of trouble breathing, and I sing in choir at church, and I haven't really been able to sing, and I really missed that. And it was because of her exposure to what was going on. She was becoming sensitized. So he was compromised. She was becoming sensitized. And it's like, oh my goodness, she just wanted to be heard. And so yes, ma'am, come on in. We apologize. And it's like, we got so laser focused on the husband that we totally missed what was going on with the wife. She just wanted to be heard. So educate the customer. Now, there's a lot of, you don't educate the customer. But you know what? In this instance, it's okay. Believe me, the customer will educate you. Especially when medical conditions are going on, and how long they've been experiencing stuff, and what their kids are going through, and how many trips, and what this specialist said, and this specialist, and so they'll educate you. But the education process would be explain the conditions that you found in the home, because we're looking at the unseen. Hey, they know something's going on, but they can't pinpoint it, and so it's up to us to go in and see the unseen and connect it to what what's going on with the customer. And then, related to the equipment age, we can start to look and bring that into the conversation. So you see how I've been talking about equipment, but it's been IAQ focused, and we're slowly bringing it in. And I'm going to explain how we have that conversation. So you walk them through it, and you help them decide your solutions, what's in their best interest. And so you'll be able to start to connect their dots, and you'll be saying, oh yeah, that's what I'm experiencing. Suggest solutions that'll improve the indoor air quality and the environment. Keeping in mind, it's not just the air. We are changing environments. And that's where the rubber meets the road. Once you change an environment, they are going to start to experience and feel better, and less medications and different things. And then advise them to upgrade older equipment before it's an emergency. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, based on the data that we gathered, and we analyzed and really looked, and based on what you're experiencing, we think we have a solid solution. We'll be able to take care of the TVOCs, the humidity, the particulates, the infiltration in your building. And you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, based on the age and the condition of your equipment, it won't support these solutions. Your HVAC system is the engine that's going to power all these solutions, and we would hate for us to get these all in place and then your equipment go out and you're left unprotected. Easy conversation to have. And because the HVAC equipment could be what's powering a lot of these solutions, again, we want to make sure that it's able to support what they need. And then if it goes out in an emergency, and if it's a catastrophic failure and you're scrambling for equipment, they're left unprotected. So keep in mind who my client bases are. So when I say that, it really does matter. So when addressing IAQ, jobs take a little longer. There's no two ways about it. And because a lot of care needs to go in during the process, so they take longer. Here's some of the things that I did in my practice. I pre-cleaned all the equipment using environmental friendly products and having MSDS, material safety data sheets, available. More times than not, I would approach the client and say, hey, is there a cleaning product that you use that's friendly for you and your family? Can I use it? And they'll be more than happy to let you do that. The work site has to be kept ultra clean. Wearing booties, building containments, encapsulated, should say non-foil back insulation. And so I'm going to talk about that in a second. So, and here it is. So absolutely, these are my no-fly. No insulation in the airstream whatsoever. So insulation, as we know it, is an irritant. And for my clients, if they're compromised, irritants are a no-go. Okay, no ductboard plenums, and I know some of y'all's marketplace, that's what they use. There's alternative to ductboard. Cool Duct is one of them. It's a fantastic product, both on the performance side of things, and it's ultra clean, and it's a lot of the same, methodology for cutting and putting together plenums and transitions and things. Again, no raw fiberglass, no duct leakage, especially predominant return, although predominant supply will have a negative effect on this structure, and you've probably heard a couple talks this weekend that will back what I'm saying, and no negative pressure in a home. So if we can get to neutral, that's great. I prefer slightly positive, and it's going to vary from climate to climate and how you accomplish that. So you need to format your pricing to accommodate the extra time. I talk about containments. I had to learn the hard way, and I was doing a kind of a high-profile job, and I'm a contractor. I'm used to throwing down plastic and some drop cloths, and I start the job, and then the client walked in. They turned white as a ghost. They said, this is. And this was early on in my career before I understood the gravity of what impact I'm having on what the customer is experiencing. And I had to build a containment. And so I wasn't prepared for that. And so you're going to work with clients that if you misstep and contaminate a house, and they have to come in and do a top to bottom wipe down and cleaning of a home, that gets expensive. So I've had jobs where I had to do a full-blown ingress, egress, zipper doors, sticky mats, filtration, negative pressure in the containment. First time? Yeah, that cost. Where's that come from? Your bottom line. I had to learn. So containments are a big deal. And it could be something as simple as just covering everything with plastic, or it may, from that to a full-blown ingress and egress. You deserve to be paid for that extra time. I mean, we're not here to give away our services, although I've donated plenty of my services to children and people. This industry's been very, very good to me. But hey, you deserve to get paid for that. And so going in and not understanding that I needed a containment, that was a lesson learned. Where did I learn it? Right in my wallet. So you need to get paid for that extra time that it takes, and the care and the consideration as you're installing different jobs. Remember, low bid is a race to the bottom. Nobody wins, everybody loses. The customer loses because they can't get the proper job done for a low bid. Contractor loses because they're not making the money that they need to and they're cutting corners. Our industry as a whole loses as we're pushing everything down. It's a race to the bottom, not a race I want to win. That's not even a race I want to participate in. So you are offering a superior product that none of your competition can even come close to, and your knowledge, expertise, and experience is a commodity, and so you need to charge accordingly. So this is not a sales pitch. I want to bring to light something that I've been blessed and had an opportunity to be involved in. With my position in the new flat rate, we have created the very first and only in our industry an IAQ pricing module. And we are excited. We put it through beta testing. We chose about 20 contractors, and it went live, and people are using it all over the United States, and they're having great success with it. Because the question is, oh, well, how do I charge for this stuff? How do I price this stuff? And that's fine. So one thing I want to make sure that you understand, we are not a pricing company. We are a software and process development company. We take a look at what you need to be profitable, and that's how we built this module. So I'm going to take a couple minutes and just kind of run you through it. So the process of discovery and specialized IAQ testing is built into the program and is monetized. I've got probably $80,000 or $90,000 worth of testing equipment. That all had to be paid for. And as you go deeper in your indoor air quality journey, what's that say? 10 minutes. Yeehaw, man, I'm right on schedule. So as you get further in your journey, you're going to realize you need other tools. And so those have to be paid for. And so you need to be profitable to do that. So the new flat rate IAQ module looks something like this. We have presentation. We are scripted, so we have presentation scripts. We have the customer menu that looks like that. We offer 5 options. We call them metals, and they go all the way up to a platinum. Our landing page looks a little something like that, and so we would go to the IAQ module. And then once we get to the IAQ module and we start looking at different things, we do have a technician checkbook. So if we're doing a certain thing and a certain task and the technician isn't quite sure, he can go to the checklist and make sure that he's doing the proper sequence and work. And then finally, we do have a training portal. So we would go to the IAQ module, and it starts off with discovery. In discovery, we have 3 categories. We have air safety, and that's allowing us to see the unseen and test the air. Then we have building safety, which would incorporate building testing, which would include blower door, zonal pressure mapping, moisture, a lot of visual and photographs. And then we have existing mechanical. Again, I told you on every job I look at the mechanical and the ductwork and measure and capacities. And so that's how it's laid out. By using building science, the latest tools and technology, best practices, and remember, the whole house is a system, you too can create environments. Here's my 6 must look at. So thermal comfort. Thermal comfort has a direct impact on how your clients that are compromised feel. So that indoor environment has to be comfortable. We are in the comfort business, aren't we? So this should be easy. We sell comfort. Humidity. Depending on where you're at, I'm in New Mexico. We're about 0 humidity. Every once in a while. Arizona's the same way. And Nate makes fun of me. I don't know if he's in the room. He's like, oh, you You dry climate guys. But anyway, building pressures. No, we need to make sure that we look at building pressures. Ventilation. Hey, let's put the V back in HVAC. You take the V out of HVAC, what do you got? Yeah. Do we want to be hacks? No, we don't. Ventilation is going to probably be in just about every solution that you have to offer. Filtration. And then my big one, pollutant identification and source control, source control, source control. We really need to dig deep and understand what's going on in source pollutants and sources. So you'll be able to test, design, and implement safe, healthy, comfortable, and efficient environments for your clients. So our industry, where are we focused? Where's our focus right now in our industry, in HVAC? Yeah, but what about the equipment? Thank you very much. Our industry is so laser focused on efficiency, it's not even funny. Now, is that important? Yeah, it's kind of important. So I have these cards. And safety, what makes a safe house? No electrocutions, no fire, no explosion, no carbon dioxide. Comfort, drafty and comfortable, rooms are the same, clean air. Health, no exposure to mold, dust, pollens, chemicals, gases, external and internal pollutions, and efficiency. We all know what that is. So during my initial consult with a client, I'll say, hey, you know what? Take a look at these cards, and so I understand where your priorities are. Can you look at these and lay them down in what's most important to you? I could be an act in Vegas, one of those mentalists, like, yes. 99% of the time, they set them down just like that. The only big would be health and safety. That's how they lay them down almost every time. They want a safe, healthy, comfortable, and efficient home. This is from clients, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. That's not where our industry is. Our industry is backwards. So I just wanted to share that with you. So that being said, for information, IAQ training, you can visit the new flat rate /IAQ. The Amana Brand Business Academy and the Goodman Business Toolbox is where our trainings are. We are NCI is in this stable of trainers, and so we've got just some great training, and then my training is in there too. We do offer it through Daikin, the Daikin Air Intelligence. I got to work with Dr. Mark Jackson. The Air Intelligence is amazing. They've got some great products. I'm not trying to sway you guys any direction, but we work really big with a lot with the Clean Comfort brand of IAQ products. And so Mr. Akama, who owns Daikin, who is the umbrella company over everything, he very eloquently said that, hey, our box is just sheet metal, a bunch of wires, a motor, some components. In and of itself, it's just a box. It's you, the contractors, that breathe life into it and bring it to life. And so his philosophy is he doesn't care whose equipment you sell. He doesn't care if you're first choice, second choice, or third choice. He just wants to be at the table. And so the Clean Comfort brand of products is pretty robust, and so have a look at it if you haven't already seen it. So thank you. We have 4 minutes for questions and answers? Let's have them. Yes, sir. Can I go through what testing tools I'm using? No. I have a ton of tools. So obviously blower doors. Right, and obviously I have a duct blaster, and so I use my DG 1000 for everything, right? And then I have all that I need to do I've got flow hoods and turning vane anemometers. I was an air balance technician. I commissioned hundreds and hundreds of units and buildings. I'm also a economizer commissioning. I've got tools for all that, hot wire anemometers, all that stuff that as HVAC tech should have. And then I've got my IAQ stuff, and I got a ton of stuff. And it's too much to even start to go through the list, and even that you would understand what they are. Yes, sir?
Just to follow up, if your IAQ devices are giving you what we call normal range, but your occupants still have problems, explain the conundrum that goes along? Like your reading is okay, but their personal ability is much more sensitive.
Great question. So the question was, if your data gathering, in all intents and purposes, is pointing to everything's normal, but yet the customer is still experiencing something, that is a conundrum. I have experienced that before, where you can't quite put your finger on it. But in the unseen world, again, surrogate pollutants is probably the direction we need to go. So what's not showing up, if we were to pull an air sample, get it to the lab, and they have what they're looking for, their list, and it's based largely on a microscope, right? So they look at it. They're used to seeing certain sizes and shapes of different things, which would lead them to speciate. Surrogate pollutants don't fall into that category and often are missed. And so having the conversation that if we get good filtration, ventilation, get our humidity under control, would probably be kind of a safe direction to go, because you can go deeper. You can get lost in the woods with testing, so we need to be careful with that. Brandon.
To kind of jump off that question there, you talked in a class in Chicago about running a situation like that. You can call in a commercial hygienist.
Thank you. So Brandon, bouncing off of what he said, if what data you're gathering and is not showing something, you can employ a certified industrial hygienist who has the knowledge and expertise to take it a little deeper, and they may be able, with their testing equipment, and they've got some cool stuff, I must say, can probably find what you're not seeing. But we are capable of pulling some air samples ourselves and getting them into the lab, or using something like Air Answers. So great question. Yes, sir.
When we're out on the quote, and the equipment, or the customer has asked about new equipment, how do we broach this subject without falling down a hole of a lengthy conversation, and we're not getting paid for it?
Well, so that's been our problem. So the question is, how do you have that conversation and get into a lengthy, to-do and not getting paid for your time? So when I first got into indoor air quality and I was launching my career, I gave that stuff away. And in hopes to make it up on the back end, but you never do. Now, fortunately, I had a high closing rate because no one was doing what I did at the level I did it. But it's a simple conversation. So we promote air advice, and you love it or leave it. Doesn't matter to me. But there is some good data in there. And so if we're running a maintenance call and or a sales call or a service call, it's like, hey, you know what? Anybody in the home experiencing any asthma, allergies, bronchial, respiratory issues we need to be concerned about? They're going to answer yes or no. If the answer is yes, hey, our company's running a special right now. I can do a 30-minute air assessment for you. Would you be interested in that? For free. And so while you're doing what you do, 30 minutes comes right to your phone. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, based on some national averages from the EPA, the National Lung Association, and National Heart Association, my report is showing me that we've got some levels of some certain pollutants that are a little high. But don't worry, we do have some options. Would you like to go over those now? You'd go to the Discovery page, and you would show them a page that would allow you to take that deeper dive. Hey, what should we do? And they'll choose an option. Or they won't, but you know now. It's better to know now if they're interested in paying for your knowledge, expertise, and experience than have that conversation that goes nowhere. Make sense? Yep. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that people could possibly get tax write-offs for certain prescriptions. Is it just specific prescriptions, or would any involving?
Great question. So the question is...
The last question.
Last question. So I mentioned that we had relationships and that we could get doctors to prescribe our services, and that we weren't able to get a HMO or PPO to write them off. Now, there are some air purifiers. IQ Air makes one called a Health Pro Plus. It has a DME attached to it, which is durable medical equipment, kind of like a CPAP machine or oxygen or those kind of apparatus that can get a get a prescription for. But no, what we were able to do, because of the gravity that a prescription per se from a doctor, hey, we need to clean up your indoor environment, we were able to get that. You have to have a good tax accountant to write that off. And so just real quick, not to be about money, but my largest indoor air quality project to date is $1.4 million. I've got several projects that fell in the $400,000 range. My average residential ticket for a fix fell between $70,000 and $80,000 all day, every day. Now, offering financing and creative ways to get the job done, do it in sections, but those were the kind of tickets that I would get. And we're fixing the environment, meaning shell work, HVAC work, everything else. So it's there. Just learning how to identify the opportunities, having compassion, and then going after it. I'll be hanging out for a while. Come and see me. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks for watching this video. Again, to find out everything we have going on, you can download the free HVAC School app on Android or on iPhone, or go to HVACRschool.com. And then specifically up in the top, you'll see events to find out more about upcoming symposiums. Hope to see you there.
Thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed it and got something out of it, if you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up button to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notifications bell to be notified when new videos come out. HVAC School is far more than a YouTube channel. You can find out more by going to HVACRschool.com, which is our website and hub for all of our content, including tech tips, videos, podcasts, and so much more. You can also subscribe to the podcast on any podcast app of your choosing. You can also join our Facebook group if you want to weigh in on the conversation yourself. Thanks again for watching.